Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are reviewing the new Brockhampton album, Ginger. This one is the 5th studio album in their catalog, and the second one since joining the major label RCA. This follows up Iridescence, one of my favorite albums from 2018. It's a project that had gimmicky production, emotional vulnerability, astonishing and breathtaking performances, and a great sense of cohesion from the boy band. I also reviewed a solo album from one of the members of Brockhampton earlier this year. This one was put out by Kevin Abstract, and I love it for its pop and R&B stylings. So based on those two projects, one being from the entire group and one from Kevin, I had super high expectations coming into this new Brockhampton record, especially when the singles were something worth getting hyped for. The most recent of those single releases, No Halo, is great for its guitar and sentimental with its attitude talking about ethics. If You Pray Right has a very corny and goofy beat with the horns, the brass instrumentation. It's a song that also has some really good technical flows from each of its members. It also flows really well as a song too. Each member brings an interesting melody to the table, and it should end up being one of my favorite singles of this year. A couple other singles that were dropped before this album, the lead-off single, I've Been Born Again. This one has a unique hip-hop beat. The instrumental and flows remind me of something like Injury Reserve and what they did with their debut album earlier this year. I know I didn't get around to reviewing it, but it sounds like it's from there. And the last single that I haven't talked about yet, Boy Bye. This one has some seamless transitions between members in a quick and catchy little tune. With great singles and all of this building up to a fantastic release, what I thought was going to be a fantastic release, I'm feeling a little let down with what the final product is. For a good portion of the rest of this album, I feel like there is something off about Brockhampton, either the chemistry or the entries from each of the members. It's a little askew. Synergy has always been a core value at Brockhampton's kind of ledger and what they've always been doing. But for this album, I feel like it's missing. Everyone's off kind of doing their own thing. They aren't really thinking about what the final song is going to sound like. And there aren't too many highlights in terms of deliveries or flows on this one. There is just that lacking sense of synergy that has always made their past projects so compelling. Of course, Ginger is less gimmicky with its production compared to Iridescence. There's no doubt that this album feels like it's more serious with its tone. But that's the part of this album I don't admire as much as the fun kind of songs in the past. Don't get me wrong, there are a couple serious tracks I do find myself being fond of. It's just that a lot of the time the production is dull and lifeless to me, especially with the title track, even though the melody is catchy there. Also, with that less gimmicky production and that shifting to the more serious tone, it makes this album, Ginger, feel like it's more focused on performances, and a majority of these songs are living or dying by the strength of the melodies or the performances of each member. And when it comes to the performances, I feel like Dom, Matt, Kevin, all these guys aren't really coming forth with their best ideas. There are lots of indistinguishable verses on here and some unnecessary vocal processing that has ended up being some of the highlights of their past albums that I've enjoyed. That being said, there's still always a highlight, a climax to each song. There is always one member that kind of steals the spotlight, while there's always like one or two other performances on each individual song that kind of makes it a slight disappointment, usually because of vocal processing or a bland beat, which really just transfers all that pressure to performance, like I was saying, something more eccentric or wacky to make up for these bare bones structures. I'm really just coming from that side of camp who likes Brockhampton for their weird and wacky stuff. For me, the singles are the brightest spots on this record. I think of other songs past the singles like Sugar. It hasn't grown on me just yet. I dislike the effects on Ryan Beatty's additional vocals. The tune is a little forgettable. With the track Heaven Belongs to You, I feel like ideas are running thin for the boy band Brockhampton as they use and recycle the same beat as what they do on If You Pray Right. English rapper Slow Tie is a feature on this track. He's not doing anything special here. I feel like he sounded much better on the Flume mixtape from earlier this year. Another track, Saint Piercy. This one is a forgettable performance from Kevin Abstract. A very abrupt ending to the song too. And the song Big Boy has to be my least favorite song on this project with its horrible auto-tune and dreary beat. With those negatives aside though, I have shared aired quite a few. I do want to reinforce that this is a good album. There is one deep cut that remains past the singles that is a pretty good song. Dearly Departed is the name of it. And Joba's crying, like his shouted vocals on here just hit my soul so hard. Very versatile. I never would have thought that Joba could scream like he does on a track like Joe Vare with his fiery vocals, and then he goes for something more soulful on this track. However, Dom seriously steals this track with the best rap performance on this entire album, I would say. He outshines Matt and Kevin by miles, and the guitar solo that seals this track is so majestic, so sweet, it's incredible. Overall, this Brockhampton album still shows that they have some creative gas left in the tank. They came through with really solid singles and that song Dearly Departed. The songwriting and recording process, however, feels a little disjointed. It feels a little incomplete or abrupt, or just songs end in weird places. And the chemistry, at least to me, doesn't sound like it's clicking on all cylinders like it has in the past. That magic isn't really there like it was for the Saturation trilogy or Iridescence. Still a slightly above average hip-hop album for 2019, despite all of those criticisms I had for it. I feel like I'm just being a harsher kind of critic for Brockhampton, and it's hard to live up to their past works, and I feel like a lot of what I'm saying here is relatively compared to that. So still positive about this release, wanted to drive that home. I'm feeling a 6 out of 10. There's the review of the new Brockhampton album. I'd love to hear from you now. Sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what your favorite Brockhampton album is, and if this one lives up to the hype and all the expectations. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a rockin' day.